This is the luncheon edition of Triple N News for Wednesday, November 9th. In the headlines, locally, Maribor Abattoir in final stages. In sports, results of Senior Open Tennis Tournament. Regionally, the vaccination campaign against cholera begins in Haiti. Internationally, Trump wins US election. The luncheon edition of Triple N News is brought to you through the kind compliments of Flo. We have the details when we return.
I'll take a small.
XL, that's the size for me.
Flo's new prepaid combo plans have the most choice and value for everyone. Save up to 90% by combining your talk, text, and data into one simple plan. And with options starting at just $18.99, it's easy to say it, type it, or share it a whole lot more for a whole lot less. Dial *129# now to activate. The bigger you go, the bigger you save with Flo's new prepaid combo plans. This is how we flow.
Welcome back. With the details, I am Kenlin Peters. The final touches are being implemented at the Maribor Abattoir. According to Minister of Agriculture, Yolande Bain Horsford, a date has not been set for the opening, but it is in its final stages. She noted that this is a long-anticipated event.
Things are being put in place now, like the countertops and a few other logistics that were just, left out. We are now putting all that in perspective, and by next week, we should have a date for the opening of the abattoir.
The abattoir will be the first of its kind in Grenada to ensure that the slaughtering of animals is safe and up to international standards. In other news, the Inland Revenue Division continues on its path to reform, with tax compliance a significant part of this strategy. Deputy Controller Michael Stephen highlighted the tax compliance strategy.
The compliance strategy is an action plan that addresses the compliance risks in the tax system. Risks are an important ingredient in any organization, and it's something that we need to identify and mitigate against. So the risks identified in the tax system are identified, they're analyzed, we develop a response to them, and we evaluate whatever measures we had put in place to address those risks. That action plan looks at a broad, overarching agenda so that we can respond to the risks that we have identified in the tax system.
Controller Ms. Ophelia Cornwall identified the risks faced by the division.
The risk that we looked at, because it's important for us to be able to step back and assess where we are as a tax department. And as Michael would have said, to be able to come up with mechanisms to be able to treat with risk identified. We have registration risk, which deals with businesses who are out there and are not registered for tax purposes. So that's one of the risk areas that we would have identified. Filing risk, persons who are with us, registered with us, but are not filing a tax return. Payment risk, where we have persons who are filing, they're registered, filing, but they're just not paying. And then we have reporting risk. Persons who are registered, they're filing, they're paying, but they're not paying what they're supposed to pay. They're under-reporting. So basically, these are the categories of risk that we would have identified across our taxpayer base.
Ms. Cornwall explained the reasons behind the tax compliance strategy.
Having identified the risk involved, we have to ensure as tax administrators that the equity principle is maintained, fairness is maintained, and we cannot afford to have certain categories of persons be given an unfair advantage, and only the tax contribution is only being paid by some. So it's very important for us to be able to ensure that the fair share principle is maintained, and it also helps us to foster a better relationship with with our clients and minimize the imposition of the powers that we would have spoken about under the Tax Administration Act. So the intention really, as I would have said before, is facilitation. We would institute and impose penalties where and when necessary. But our role really primarily is to educate, guide, support, and facilitate compliance, really. So essentially, it is, we identify the risk is to be able to deploy, assess, and evaluate strategies that would mitigate those risks and ensure that persons are paying their fair share within the fold.
The Deputy Controller encouraged businesses to begin the conversation with the Inland Revenue Division, which can lead to tax compliance.
I want to encourage the business community to come in and talk to us, because we want to change the relationship that exists between the tax administrators and the business community, right? We want to encourage business growth in Grenada, because we know that that's going to encourage employment growth and economic growth. We want to encourage the conversation.
Lawyers in Grenada now have a better understanding of the laws and regulations about anti-money laundering and were told that they should always guard against the possibility of them being used by a client to engage in money laundering. We get more in this Brandon Wells report.
That advice came from Paul Gallic when he facilitated an anti-money laundering terrorist financing seminar for lawyers. Held last Saturday at the Radisson Convention Center, the seminar was the last activity for Law Week organized annually by the Grenada Bar Association, which began on October 30th under the theme Empowering Others, Empowering Themselves. The seminar itself was organized as a collaborative effort between the Financial Intelligence Unit and the Bar as part of the FIU commitment to undergo educational sessions with professionals who are affected directly and sometimes indirectly by its work with support from the U.S. Embassy in Grenada. Explaining that money laundering and serious crimes go hand in hand, Gallic told lawyers that they have a fundamental duty to support the rule of law. He pointed out that under the laws that focus on anti-money laundering and terrorist finance, lawyers have various obligations and no one but them should ensure that they are complying with the regulations. He noted of importance to lawyers in Section 34 of the Proceed of Crime Act, which is about assisting another to retain the benefits of criminal conduct. Failure to comply with this section can result in a lawyer receiving a jail term of up to 5 years or being fined 500,000 EC dollars or both for a summary offense, while on indictment charges it will be 14 years.
Finally, in the local news, the Grenadian regional and international professionals from the energy and climate change sectors will convene in a high-level technical meeting at the Blue Horizon Garden Resort, St. George, from 11th November to the 12th. Shakila McDonald has the details.
The meeting is being organized to review the status of the coordination and implementation of project activities and to improve the annual work plan for 2017. The meeting is an annual activity under the U.S. $12,482,500 Global Environment Facility United States Environment Program Energy for Sustainable Development in the Caribbean Building Project, launched in April 2013 and being implemented by the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center and involving 5 pilot countries: Grenada, Antigua and Barbuda, Belize, St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The project's objective is to transfer and implement sustainable energy policies, instruments and knowledge in the Caribbean countries through the promotion of energy efficiency applications and renewable energy use within the residential and public building sector. It is recognized that globally buildings account for over a third of total energy use and associated greenhouse gas emissions, typically 10% to 20% depending on the building type of the total life cycle energy consumed is used for the manufacturing and assembly of building materials, construction, maintenance, refurbishment and demolition. Some 80% to 90% is used over the life of the building for heating, cooling, lighting and ventilation, house appliances, etc. In Grenada, for example, the building sector, commercial, domestic and institutional, is the largest consumer of energy and accounts for more than 90% of total electricity consumption. It is therefore the largest source of greenhouse gas emission after the transportation sector. The project aims to achieve a minimum reduction of 20% in electricity use in the pilot activities that are to take place during 2014 to 2017. Shakila McDonald, Triple N News.
That ends the local segment of the Luncheon edition of Triple N News for Wednesday. Sporting developments next.
The NFL is back, and only Flow brings you every game all Sunday afternoon with NFL Sunday Ticket. Whether following your favorite team or fantasy player, choose the games you want to watch every Sunday afternoon with Flow. Visit us in store or call 1-800-804-2994 to sign up for NFL Sunday Ticket. It's all NFL, all Sunday afternoon with Flow.
Serving off with tennis, we'll look at the results in the Grenada General Insurance Senior Open Tennis Tournament on Tuesday, 8 November in the men's singles. Michael Alexander defeated Tristan Lewis 6-4, 6-2. Jimmy Bowen defeated Brad Bowen 6-1, 6-2. Jason Stanislaus defeated Nickel Williams 6-1, 6-0. In the women's singles, Fadia Fakri defeated Keisha Gilchrist 6-2, 6-0. In the men's 50 and over singles, Carl Phillip defeated Bernard Wilson 6-3, 6-1. In unaffected play when Victor Vaspri was leading Charles C. Bishop 6-1, 4-1. Over in the mixed doubles, Jimmy Bowen and Selman Phillip defeated Yusuf Ross and Diane Fakri 6-1, 6-0. And Glenn James and Keisha Gilchrist defeated Dal Khalees and Patricia McNeil 2-6, 6-3, 10-4. Matches continue on Wednesday at the Tantin Tennis Court. In cricket, the West Indies Players Association has voiced its disagreement to a 20% no objection certificate levy imposed by the West Indies Cricket Board, citing that it was not benefiting from the investment in players who go to play in professional leagues globally and do not return to play in domestic competitions. The WICB says it was at a disadvantage under the current status quo. The regional body says it will now levy a charge for the granting of a no objection certificate for West Indian cricketers seeking a release to participate in leagues outside the jurisdiction of the West Indies. Replying to the board statement, the West Indies Players Association said a levy on players' earnings is not the answer and suggested that the action of the WICB could be challenged in the court of law. Still in cricket, Dwayne Smith's Chittagong Vikings was off to a winning start when they defeated defending champions Camilla Victorians by 29 runs in the opening match of the Bangladesh Premier League on Tuesday. The Barbadian batsman contributed only 9 runs in the Vikings' score of 161 for 3 in 20 overs at the Shah Bangla National Stadium. An aggressive 23 from West Indies middle order batsman Marlon Samuels was not enough to help lift Victorians as they were restricted for 132 for 8 in 20 overs. In basketball, the Dallas Mavericks ended the LA Lakers' 3-game winning streak with a 109-97 victory on Tuesday. After beating the Atlanta Hawks, the Golden State Warriors, and the Phoenix Suns, the Lakers struggled against the Mavericks that entered the game with a 1-5 record. Harrison Barnes, coming off a 32-point performance in the Mavericks' last game, scored 31 against the Lakers. The loss dropped the Lakers to 4-4. Jordan Clarkson led the Lakers with 22 points, Nick Young had 20, and Julius Randle had 15. The Lakers committed 17 turnovers that led to 20 Dallas points. We hear from the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, Luke Walton.
I thought we did a much better job in the second half fighting. I mean, Harrison was, pretty spectacular tonight. JJ Barea and then Seth Curry coming off the bench was huge. And it's the NBA. Every team is good. Even if a team, that Dallas was 1-5, they have really good players on that team. I thought we were a little soft in the first half. And I feel like, when you let good players kind of get into a little bit of a rhythm, it can be tough to shut them down sometimes. And I feel like a little bit of that was the case tonight. They scored 20 points off of our turnovers. We had chances. We didn't get it done tonight, but I still thought we fought hard and different guys stepped up at different times.
The Lakers will next face the Sacramento Kings on Thursday, November 10th. In Formula 1, Nick Rosberg is one step away from securing his first championship, which he will do if he wins in Brazil on Sunday, regardless of where Mercedes teammate, triple champion and title rival Lewis Hamilton finishes. The odds are in Rosberg's favor. He has won for the past 2 seasons from pole position in Sao Paulo, whereas anti-clockwise circuits has yet to reward Hamilton in a victory. Last year, Hamilton had already won the title and his focus was elsewhere. This This time he comes on the back of 2 successive wins, unlike Rosberg seeking a hat-trick. Another win for the Briton would take the battle down to the wire at Abu Dhabi, and if Rosberg were to fail to score in Brazil, a potential winner-takes-all scenario. In rowing, 2-time Olympic champion Heather Stanning has announced her retirement from rowing, ending her all-conquering partnership with Helen Glover. Stanning and Glover became Great Britain's first female rowers to win back-to-back Olympic golds when they retained the cockless spear title in Rio this year. The Olympic gold at London 2012 was the host's first of the Games and also the first in British women's rowing. The double world champion ends her rowing career having not lost a single race alongside Glover since World Championships in Slovenia in 2011, the dominance in the women's spear since extending to 39 consecutive victories. That ends the sporting developments. The international segment of news will follow.
I'll take a small.
XL, that's the size for me.
Flow's new prepaid combo plans have the most choice and value for everyone. Save up to 90% by combining your talk, text, and data into one simple plan. And with options starting at just $18.99, it's easy to say it, type it, or share it. A whole lot more for a whole lot less. Dial *129# now to activate. The bigger you go, the bigger you save with Flow's new prepaid combo plans. This is how we flow.
This is the international developments for today, Wednesday. Donald Trump has won the U.S. election and will be the next president. Democrat Hillary Clinton has conceded defeat to her Republican rival.
Hillary Clinton has called Donald Trump and congratulated him now on being president-elect. He will be America's 45th president. It doesn't seem that the Clinton campaign is waiting until the morning any longer. It doesn't seem as though they will have very much more to say about the outcome of this election. Hillary Clinton's supporters heading home without having heard from her. That is a move that I think many political observers and analysts will find somewhat curious at the end of an election campaign.
Donald Trump will succeed Barack Obama to become the 45th president of the United States. He spoke to supporters in New York.
To all Republicans and Democrats and independents across this nation, I say it is time for us to come together as one united people. It's time. I pledge to every citizen of our land that I will be president for all Americans.
Mary McCarthy reports from Trump HQ in New York.
It's a feeling of celebration and jubilation, certainly here at the Midtown Hilton Hotel in Manhattan. That's also mixed with a feeling of shock and dumbfoundedness among everyone here, whether that's the media or the many, many Trump supporters who've stayed up until the early hours of the morning to come out for this party and to hear their candidate's victory speech. That shock, of course, coming from the sense that nobody really predicted this coming into the election night. All of the numbers had predicted that Hillary Clinton would be the winner. The pundits also said the same thing.
Asian markets were sharply lower after it became clear that Donald Trump was winning the presidency. Japan's Nikkei index closed down 5.4%. Many investors worldwide had expected a Clinton win. A Belgian-Moroccan jihadist operating in Syria is believed to have organized the deadly attacks on Paris and Brussels, officials say. For months, intelligence teams have been trying to identify a man known as Abu Ahmad, involved in recruiting a number of Islamic militants for attacks across Europe. They now believe to have identified him as Osama Ahmad Atta. He is linked to bombers who targeted Paris in 2015 and Brussels in March. Jihadist gunmen and bombers murdered 130 people on November 13th last year in a series of almost simultaneous attacks in the heart of Paris. Bomb attack at Brussels airport and on the city's metro claimed 32 lives on March 22nd. A U.S.-led coalition airstrike killed at least 16 civilians in a village north of the so-called Islamic State Syrian stronghold of Raqqa, activists say. The UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reported that 6 women and a child were among those died in the raids on Al-Hisha overnight. The IS-held village has been the target of a US-backed alliance of Kurdish and Arab fighters seeking to recapture Raqqa. The coalition said it was checking on the reports of the incident. On Sunday, the Syria Democratic Forces announced that it had begun a campaign to isolate and ultimately take control of Raqqa, which IS has controlled for almost 3 years. Still on the international scene, fighter jets have docked Russia's flagship aircraft carrier off the Syrian coast and are ready to engage in large airstrikes on Aleppo, according to Moscow. The statement was made on the eve of the presidential vote in the US and was seen as Moscow's ultimate attempt to change the course of the Syrian war.
Russia said it was ready to launch airstrikes on the Syrian city of Aleppo from its flagship aircraft carrier Admiral Kuznetsov soon. The vessels, escorted by several other battleships, have arrived off Syrian coast earlier this week. Russia's defense ministry said its warplanes will target rebels on the outskirts of Aleppo, fighting against the Syrian government troops controlling the western parts of the city. Moscow said the attacks are designated to hit the long-range approaches to the embattled town. When the Russian fleet set on sail in mid-October, Moscow claimed the mission was part of a regular rotation and merely a show of the flag.
And finally, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has announced that 500 and 1,000 rupee banknotes will be withdrawn from the financial system overnight. The surprise move, announced on Tuesday evening, is part of the crackdown on corruption and illegal cash holdings. Banks will be closed on Wednesday and ATM machines will not be working. India is overwhelmingly a cash economy. New 500 and 2,000 rupee denomination notes will be issued to replace those removed from circulation. People will be able to exchange their old notes for new ones at the banks over the next 50 days, but they will no longer be legal tender. The announcement prompted people across the country to rush to ATMs that offer 100 rupee notes in an attempt not to be left without cash over the next few days. And that ends the international developments for today, Wednesday. I am Shakila McDonald.
Next is the regional segment. A vaccination campaign against cholera began on Tuesday in areas of Haiti hit by Hurricane Matthew, with support from the United Nations and other institutions. Vondel Joseph tells us more.
Stefan Dujarric, the spokesman for the UN Secretary General, said activities will focus on municipalities most vulnerable to cholera outbreaks in the 2 southern departments of Grand Anse and Sud, where there have been significant destruction of water and other supply systems. According to a news release from PAO and WHO, the decision of WHO and other members of the Global Task Force for Cholera Control to approve the request of the Haitian Ministry of Health to bring 1 million doses of oral vaccine against cholera is based on the goal of reducing the burden of cholera cases on healthcare facilities and of reducing deaths in the department of the Southern Grand Anse. PAO, who will support the Ministry of Health in activities including development of tools and technical support, as well as reception, storage, and transport of the vaccines and supplies in department, municipalities, and institutions. PAO, who will also support training of vaccination staff, supervisors, and operators, and the coordination of collection and analysis of information, monitoring, and evaluation. Vondel Joseph, Triple N News.
In Jamaica, school children in Jamaica will soon have the additional protection of private security companies. More in this Maxine Antoine report.
The decision to contract security firms as well as increased police patrol in parts of the island has been taken by the Ministry of Education following a series of recent attacks on school children, some of which have been fatal. Minister of Education Senator Ruel Reid said in a statement the ministry was leaving no room for criminals to prey on students. The Ministry of Education has also assigned a special school bus service to operate on the Papine to Halfway Tree route used by thousands of students from different schools and backgrounds daily. The service, which will be exclusively for students, is slated to end on December 21st. Reid urged school children not to take illegal transportation. Reid said the ministry felt obliged to respond to recent incidents of violence against children and to enhance the safety net for the approximately 600,000 100,000 students enrolled in primary and high schools across Jamaica. The minister said that in preparation for the start of the new school year, the ministry had trained 1,000 school safety officers and was also now training 400 persons under an apprenticeship program to be safety and security support officers for schools. Maxine Antoine, Triple N News.
In Dominica, the government has signed an €8.9 million financing agreement with the European Union to further support the continued efforts of the government to rehabilitate the country after the damage caused by Tropical Storm Erika in 2015. The objective of the support program is to continue to assist the country in its efforts to re-establish the full functioning of basic services in crucial areas, enhance resilience on a nationwide basis, and to improve public financial management. The focus of indicators for the disbursements of funds will be on water infrastructure, the energy sector, and public financial management. The overall post-Erika rehabilitation project, which will be carried out through the Ministry of Finance, is part of efforts of the government of Dominica to source concessionary and/or grant funding that will mitigate the effects of tropical weather phenomena. The project is being financed under the 11th European Development Fund and will be administered via the General Budget Support Program. In Barbados, a University of the West Indies official Tuesday expressed shock and alarm over the results of a recent study which measured the physical activity of Barbadians between the ages of 25 to 54 years of age. More in this report.
Lecturer with the Chronic Disease Research Center, Christina Howitt, told the World Town Planning Day Symposium this morning at Courtyard by Marriott Hotel that 9 out of 10 women in Barbados do not get enough physical activity.
That 6 out of 10 men not getting enough activity is still a major health problem. And actually, we know that men tend to die more from chronic diseases than women anyway, partly because of biology and partly because they don't seem to like going to the doctor. So I don't know, we as public health people are told quite often not to alarm people with our statistics. But I don't know about you guys, I find this pretty alarming. This is terrible. 9 out of 10 women not getting enough activity is pretty shocking. And compared to other populations, these are really high levels. We have to do something about this.
In Trinidad, Tourism Minister Shafa Kujo says one of the major reasons for the problems being experienced by Caribbean Airlines is the sharing of the airline's fleet within the region. The Tourism Minister is hopeful that with the installation of a new Caribbean Airlines board, the issue with the air bridge will be dealt with. Speaking on the issue, Tobago House of Assembly Chief Secretary Orville London says the Tobago House of Assembly intends to meet with the board to sort out the air bridge problem.
In fact, we have a document to send to them because we want Caribbean Airlines to understand that it is a national airline of Trinidad and Tobago. I am saying that if I am living in Tobago and this is Trinidad and Tobago and this is my national airline, my business must take priority.
I think that what is needed right now is systemic solutions to fix the problems in the system. I think that now is a good time, now is a turning point for the Caribbean Airlines, and I would say for the airlift services also, since that we now have a new Caribbean Airlines board and they are being called to provide more effective management.
In St. Lucia, Prime Minister Alan Chestnut has announced the VAT reduction, which has been eagerly awaited by St. Lucians since it was promised in elections earlier this year. The reductions, which will take effect on February 1st, 2017, will pump $52.5 million into the hands of St. Lucians, according to the Prime Minister. The VAT reduction will see a cut from the current 15% to 12.5%. Countries in the Caribbean have been taking steps to provide stimulus in the hope of triggering growth, a direct shift from the austerity policies adopted since the collapse of the U.S. financial markets that had deeply impacted Caribbean markets. The odd story comes next.
Well, Hillary, did you really need to do that? I don't think so. Hillary Clinton has jumped in on the latest viral video craze after she joined members of her press pack, aides, and even Bon Jovi in a mannequin challenge attempt. The Democratic presidential candidate was filmed on board her campaign jet, taking part in the stunt in which people stand stationary as they mimic mannequins, usually accompanied by music. In the footage, journalists stare at their mobile phone screens and appear to be engaged in conversations with colleagues. Bill Clinton just about pulls a smile together together in front of the camera, and Bon Jovi frontman looks set to burst into a song. The group then erupted into cheers after around 30 seconds as Miss Clinton smiles and laughs with her campaign team. The video clip was posted on Mrs. Clinton's Twitter page along with the words, "Don't stand still. Vote today, Election Day, Mannequin Challenge." Hundreds of people have been sharing similar videos using the hashtag Mannequin Challenge after the viral video craze began with high school children in the US last month. Well, I guess that was for waste after all. Busted Mannequin Challenge after all. Oh boy.
Let's take a peek into today's weather.
Partly cloudy skies with few brief showers is expected during the day, increasing in cloudiness during the night, with some widely scattered showers and a possible isolated thunder shower. Wind should be east-northeasterly to east-southeasterly at 12 to 22 miles per hour, slight to moderate seas, and waves 3 to 5 feet. No marine advisory is expected. Slight haze should be present with visibility ranging from 10 to 20 kilometers. A maximum temperature of 31.5 degrees Celsius and a minimum of 26.5 degrees Celsius is expected.
That story concludes the luncheon edition of Triple N News for Wednesday, November 9th. On behalf of the entire news team, I am Kenlyn Peters. Thank you for joining us.